Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Security Summit warns tax pros to be wary of pandemic-related email scams. IR 2021-166, August 10, 2021, Washington. In a continuing twist on a common scam, the Internal Revenue Service, state tax agencies, and tax industry today warned tax professionals to beware of evolving phishing scams that use various pandemic-related themes to steal client data. So obviously we're continuing on with our pandemic-related world here, and that increases the level of people needing or scamming for information due to the increase of money possibly going out from the government and a higher value of identity theft being around. And in particular, tax professionals need to be wary of this, considering the fact that they have some of this sensitive information that is becoming more valuable and therefore more likely for people to come up with interesting ways to try to steal it. So the Security Summit, there's a link to the Security Summit here. Partners continue to see instances where tax professionals, especially those who engage in remote transactions, have been vulnerable this year to identity thieves posing as potential clients. The criminals then trick practitioners into opening email links or attachments that infect computer systems. So obviously when you're a tax professional, you're trying to pick up new clients generally, and that's one key avenue that people can basically try to get access to the computer, possibly by sending emails to pretend to be new clients, clicking on links, and then possibly downloading malware and so on and so forth. So avoiding phishing emails is the fourth in a 5-part series sponsored by the IRS, state agencies, and the nation's tax community, working together as the Security Summit, highlighting critical steps tax professionals can take to protect client data. This year's theme, quote, boost security immunity, fight against identity theft, end quote, is an effort to urge tax professionals to work to strengthen their systems and protect client data during this pandemic and its aftermath. Quote, identity thieves have been relentless in exploiting the pandemic and the resulting economic pain to trick taxpayers and tax professionals to disclose sensitive information, end quote, said IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig. Quote, fighting back against phishing scam requires constant vigilance, and we urge tax pros to take some basic steps to help protect their clients and themselves, end quote. Phishing emails, or SMS / texts, known as smishing, quote, smishing, attempt to trick the person receiving the message into disclosing personal information such as passwords, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, or social security numbers. Tax pros are a common target. So obviously as a tax professional, when you're working with clients and so on, or trying to pick up new clients, then you're working with sensitive information, and the people you're working with, of course, then want information from their tax professionals going back and forth so they can possibly provide it to third parties if they need a loan, or if they're working with a bank, or if they're just simply doing their taxes, and so on and so forth, which of course is that interaction could be an opportunity for the identity thieves to do nefarious things like steal identities and whatnot. So scams may differ in themes, but they generally have two traits. They appear to come from a known or trusted source, such as a colleague, bank, credit card company, cloud storage provider, tax software provider, or even the IRS. They tell a story, often with an urgent tone, to trick the receiver into opening a link or attachment. So this is the common type of scenario, although they can get quite creative within the common scenario. It's kind of like telling the same story in a different way when you're watching a movie. You're like, it's a mystery movie, but it's totally different mystery movie, and I didn't figure it out the same way that you would have with the last mystery movie. So of course there's going to be some kind of trust that would be involved, that they're mimicking somebody else in some way, either a trusted institution or some other person that you would trust. And then there's usually a sense of urgency. I need to get this now, I need this information immediately, and so on and so forth, that will typically be involved. So a specific kind of phishing email is called spear phishing. Rather than the scattershot nature of general phishing emails, scammers take time to identify their victim and craft a more enticing phishing email known as a lure. Scammers often use spear phishing to target tax professionals. So in other words, normally when you get a phishing email, you might be rolling your eyes and saying, this is just ridiculous. These emails are terrible. I get a thing right on my email that says it's a spam email. It's pretty clear that it's a phishing email. How could anybody possibly click on the thing? And even those can get kind of creative, but clearly they're just kind of what I would call shotgunning it out there. They're just shooting it out with scatter shot, to whoever they can. But if you think about the spear phishing situation, then they're targeting someone more specifically. And if you are a tax professional, then it might be worth their time, because they're doing a cost benefit analysis here. Is it worth our time to instead of doing the shotgun approach, just scatter shot everything? Should we be doing a more isolated spear phishing, as they're calling it, shot, targeting one individual, which could be a tax professional, given the fact that they have access to more of this kind of sensitive information? So in reoccurring and very successful scam this year, criminals posed as potential clients, exchanging several emails with tax professionals before following up with an attachment that they claimed was their tax information. So notice they're saying that you had multiple correspondence just to build trust, which is completely different than the normal scatter shot shotgun approach, where they just send out a ridiculous email that could get one in a few, a small ratio of the people they send it to. If they actually take the time to build trust through communication of constant emails, that of course will have a higher probability of being something that you'll click on or whatever. This scam was popular as many tax professionals worked remotely and communicated with clients over email versus in person or over the telephone because of COVID. Once the tax pro clicks on the URL and or opens the attachment, malware secretly downloads into the computer, giving thieves access to passwords to client accounts or remote access to the computer themselves. So then if you start clicking on something, obviously, and your mouse starts moving like by itself, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. So thieves then use this malware known as remote access Trojan, or RAT, R-A-T, to take over the tax professional's office computer system, identify pending tax returns, complete them, and e-file them, changing only the bank account information to steal the refund. So notice that if they get remote access, of course, to the computer, then you would think that they would actually have to then use that remote access to get the passwords and whatnot, logging into your tax software, which they're now recommending that you have double identification verification, which means it might be difficult to actually do that even if they were in your computer, because then they'd have to log into the software. But if they were to do that and then file the tax return and just basically change the routing numbers, then that's one way they could try to get access to, of course, the refunds. Refunds becoming more and more valuable these days, given the fact that we have a lot more of these kind of refundable tax credits could be worth quite a lot of money. So in recent months, international criminals have used a ransomware attack to shut down a variety of companies. Criminals use similar smaller scale tactics against tax pros. When the unsuspecting tax professional opens a link or attachment, while malware attacks the tax pro's computer system to encrypt files and hold the data for ransom. Okay, here we go with the ransomware, with the people that are doing the blackmail thing, shutting down your whole system, possibly in the middle of tax time, which would be horrible. Someone needs to stop these people. Security Summit needs to rally their resources and go after these guys. So these scams highlight the importance of the basic security steps recommended by the Security Summit to protect data. For example, using the two-factor, the 2FA, or the multi-factor authentication, the MFA, option offered by tax preparation providers or storage providers would protect client accounts even if passwords were inadvertently disclosed. Meaning, if they got access to your password in some way, but they had to verify it with another thing like your phone to log into the actual software, then you should have another kind of block against the problem happening. So you should be using, of course, the multi-factor authentication. Keeping antivirus software automatically updated helps prevent scams that target software vulnerabilities using drive encryption and regularly backing up files helps stop theft and ransomware attacks. For tax professionals, securing their network to protect taxpayers' data is their responsibility as a tax preparer. To help tax professionals guard against phishing scams and better protect taxpayer information, the IRS recently updated Publication 4557, Safeguarding Taxpayer Data. There's a link to that here. The July 2021 version contains some of the latest suggestions, such as using the multi-factor authentication option offered by tax software products and helping clients get an identity protection PIN. Additional resources can be found below. In addition to reviewing the recently revised IRS Publication 4557, Safeguarding Taxpayer Data, there's a link to that here. Tax professionals can also get help with security recommendations by receiving Small Business Information Security, the fundamentals, there's a link to that here. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, the IRS Identity Theft Central page, there's a link to that here for tax pros, individuals, and businesses, has important details as well. We also have Publication 5293, Data Security Resource Guide for Tax Professionals, there's a link to that here, providing a compilation of data theft information available on irs.gov. Also, tax professionals should stay connected to the IRS through subscription to the e-news for tax professionals and social media. For more information, see Boost Security Immunity, Fight Against Identity Theft. So there's a lot of reading material here. I feel like if we get through all that reading material, we should get some kind of computer science degree or something at the end of that, but I don't think you do. But in any case, we have a lot of that reading material here if you want to take a look at it, and there'll be a link to this in the description.